Welcome back on this Wednesday night. In studio with us this evening, David Coletto, founder and CEO of Abacus Data. They've just done a survey of thousands of Canadians on what they think might come of the federal budget in November. Welcome. Good to have you.
Great to be here, Todd.
You've also done some specific drilling down on Nova Scotia. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I want to start with this notion of the federal budget that the Liberal government has been pretty good about telegraphing what we should expect of this. Historic spending, says the Prime Minister. With that, we understand there will be deficit. How are Canadians feeling about it based on what they heard? Do they expect that they'll be paying more or getting less?
Yeah, I mean, I think that first off, the government has done so far a pretty good job, because there's clear indications in the survey that people understand what's likely going to be the areas of investment, so things like defense, housing, major infrastructure projects. There's also an understanding of Mark Carney's unique investment/austerity at once, which some might say, how is that possible? But I think people are hearing that, and is the #1 way in which Canadians describe what they think is coming in this budget. But there's also pretty wide recognition that we have a big deficit today, and that deficit's likely going to go up. So the framing that the government has done till now seems to be working to get people likely paying attention to this, understanding what might come. And that's why I did this research, because I think understanding people's expectations helps you understand whether things are going to be a surprise or not once that budget's actually tabled.
Do you think anybody will be asking, where's the balanced budget, and will it ever come in this government's lifetime?
Well, we don't see much optimism in this survey that people think there's going to be a clear signal on how or when or how we're going to get to that balanced budget. Not sure it's a high priority right now, given the way that people, including in Atlantic Canada, are feeling about the state of the world, the uncertainty that's there. They recognize that that deficit's a problem, but on the other hand, I don't know if there's going to be a huge appetite to seeing programs reduced or transfers to provinces cut around that.
Well, that leads me to my next question. Are the priorities of this government aligning with Canadian priorities?
I think in large part, yes. I think, the country coming out of the beginning of the year, when Trump started to do all the things that he was doing, was feeling deeply insecure about the country and the economy. And I think on one hand, Mark Carney and his government has been effective at making the case why we need big changes to how our economy works. On the other hand, I think they haven't likely done enough to ease tension and concern around things like the cost of living, the affordability of housing, access to healthcare. They don't really even talk about that in Ottawa anymore. Yes, it's a provincial responsibility, but people are still looking for leadership on it. So the question is, I always like to say, how does the government connect the big things they're talking about, that Mark Carney's traveling just to New York City this week talking about, with the everyday lives of people in the communities across the country? And that's something that Mr. Carney's not particularly, I think, good at yet, and I think he's going to have to get better at.
How are Canadians, in particular Maritimers, feeling about big projects?
Yeah.
We keep hearing the federal government, Mr. Carney, talking about big projects, whether it's pipeline, whether it's a Wind West that's been dubbed for the wind project out of the Maritimes.
Well, I think generally they think it's good. I think they believe it will mean good things for the economy, but there is a little bit of a, I'm going to call it, perception gap between, is this going to be good for the economy? Yes. Is it going to be good for me? I'm not sure. Again, connecting the dots, making people understand that if we build these large projects, if they generate new, economic well-being, will that trickle down? Will people feel that in their day-to-day? I'm not sure they do yet. But there is an understanding, I think, we got to do something. We have to become more self-sufficient on energy. We have all these resources the world wants. Someone's got to move these projects along.
In your findings, can you extrapolate how Canadians feel about who might benefit from this?
Yeah, I mean, in our work on the budget, people are still skeptical that it's going to come down to them, that they still maybe believe that those who already have a lot, wealthier Canadians, large corporations, may benefit the most. I think there's some regional dynamics to it. I think, the Wind West project, for example, that you mentioned, that the provincial government here in Nova Scotia wants to move forward, there's broad support for that. It's renewable energy, it's a regional project. Nova Scotians, Atlantic Canadians, and Canadians generally support that project. But again, that's a project that's going to take years to come to fruition. And so, that's the other side of this. I'm not sure the public has the patience to wait to see the benefits of these large national projects that are not going to be turned on overnight.
Let's drill down a bit on Nova Scotia. You did some specific polling about the parties, the leaders, their popularity. Tim Houston and his PC government, by your accounting, seem to be maintaining their sizable lead.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it across the country that incumbency is no longer a liability and maybe it's an asset, and that's the case for the Houston government here in Nova Scotia. I mean, if people had the chance to vote today, they'd get majority of the votes. Their support's holding. Approval rating is historically, I think, pretty good, almost at 50%. And so there's no indication yet that if there is a honeymoon, you know, it's almost been a year since the provincial election, that it's weathered, that it's not weathering the storms that are out there.
Are there any regional differences, or is that right across the province?
I mean, in the Halifax area, we've seen a slight increase for the PCs. They're much more competitive with the NDP. Outside of HRM, it's pretty dominant for the PCs. On the mainland and up in Cape Breton, they're ahead, and well ahead in some cases. So, you know, Halifax remains more competitive, but if the PCs are up at 70% in the mainland of Nova Scotia, that means they win almost every one of those seats.
How are Nova Scotians feeling about their lot in life compared to, say, when they look at Canada, when they look at what's going on in the greater world?
Well, this is, I think, what's really interesting. There is substantially more optimism about the direction of the province than the Nova Scotians might feel about the direction of the country, or certainly the world. I mean, most people look around the world and say, like, it's not going well. But more people feel like the province is headed in the right direction than not, which I think, if you think historically about the mood of this part of the country, this province, that wasn't always the case. So I do think part of the reason why this provincial government is right now popular and has the public support is because I think most people, not everybody, but most people feel a sense of momentum in the province, that there's some things happening, there's some energy here, and I think that's a difference than first in other parts of the country, where I do polling everywhere, and certainly in terms of how people feel about the general state of things.
David Coletto, Abacus Data. We appreciate you coming in. It's interesting, as always, and we'll be talking to you again, no doubt.
Thanks, Todd.
We'll take a break. We're back in 2 minutes.